most important thing they said, these violinists said, all of them, to improving as a violinist. You'll never guess that one. It's sleep. Huh? Sleep is the second most important activity to improving as a violinist? Here's the deal. The top two groups slept on average 8.6 hours out of every 24. Is that mind-blowing? When's the last time you slept 8.5 hours one night, much less every night? That's incredible. The third group was sleeping 7.8 hours. Let's call it 8 hours because it's almost 8 hours a night. Again, how often do you sleep 8 hours a night? The average person is sleeping 6 to 6.5 hours a night. So think about this. The greatest performers in the world are sleeping on average 16 hours a week more than we are. Is there anything more powerful to tell you that it's not about the number of hours you invest, it's about the amount of energy you bring to the hours you invest and being clear about regularly renewing to ensure that that energy is a high quality energy? That's unbelievable. The reason that we sleep as little as we do, and you know what? 95%, well, I'll get to this in a moment. The reason we sleep as little as we do is that we buy into another myth, which is that 1 hour less of sleep a night will give us 1 hour more of productivity. Isn't that what you say to yourself? When you sleep less, when you go to sleep really late or you wake up really early, well, I'll get another hour here. Well, yes, you'll get another hour technically, but if the costs to you cognitively are so great, because even small amounts of sleep deprivation take a huge deficit on your cognitive capacity, what good is it that you have that extra hour? You'd actually be better off to have the full amount of sleep you need and get more done when you're actually working. In fact, 95% of all human beings, when given, put in an environment where there is no natural light and no clocks, will sleep on average 7 to 8 hours a night, or I should say 7 to 8 hours over every 24, meaning that only 5% of the population needs fewer than 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and half of those, meaning 2.5%, need more than 7 to 8 hours. So only 1 out of every 50 people needs less than 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The odds that you're one of those are very low. Even if you think you're getting enough sleep, the odds are, when you're less than 7 hours, that you're not. And the costs may be invisible to you, but they're real. Now, the other final interesting thing about these violinists is that I said they got 8.5 or 8.6 hours every 24 hours. It was partly because they took a 20 to 30 minute nap in the early afternoon 5 or 6 days a week. A nap is itself an incredibly powerful way to restore and refuel energy in the system and to put yourself in a position where post-nap you are capable of getting more done more quickly at a higher level of quality for a period of about 3 hours after that nap, by far compared to those who do not nap. So in any situation where you can steal a little bit of time, and I'm talking literally 20 to 30 minutes, that's all you need to get this effect, it is serving you well. So what is really the end product of everything I've been saying to you for the past hour? Well, I would call it redefining the pulse of great performance. Thinking about energy as a primary capacity that you want to learn to manage. And when we think about how to be great, the paradigm shift is from thinking that it's about working continuously to recognizing that it's training yourself to be able to work intensely, uninterrupted, for relatively short periods of time, balancing that with regular recovery. So if you want to leave this with an image to take with you for the rest of your life, think of it this way. Right now you're operating in your lives most likely as a marathoner. In other words, a marathoner doesn't see a finish line out there off in the distance. So by definition, a marathoner must learn to pace himself or herself, right? If they were to sprint, at 100% of their capacity from the very first start of the beginning of the race, they would collapse soon after, wouldn't they? After a half a mile or a quarter of a mile or a mile. You're the same. You know you're going to have to be doing what you do for a long time, and though it feels, because you're always working, you're always pushing, sometimes feels like you're in a sprint, the reality is that in many ways you're finding ways to conserve your energy. You know, you're finding ways to distract yourself, to get little, even low-octane forms of recovery. I'm suggesting to you that you become a sprinter. I know that sounds strange, but imagine what a sprinter does. A sprinter comes up to the starting line, looks down the track, says, can I sprint? Can I fully engage? Can I push myself to my absolute limits for the next 100 yards or 200 yards or 400 yards? And what does that sprinter say? Yes, I can. Why? Because the sprinter sees the finish line. That's, my friends, what we've lost. We've lost the finish lines. We've lost the stopping points. We've lost the boundaries. We are in desperate need of bringing back into our lives these stopping points, of thinking about ourselves not as continuous beings, but as people who operate in intervals. You push and you recover. When you're engaged, you're fully engaged. When you are disengaged, you are truly renewing, and you stop living in the gray zone in between. What am I saying? I'm saying take back your life. It belongs to you.